Imagine missing a bus today and getting annoyed because the next one comes in 10 minutes. Now imagine being an ancient human, looking at a mountain, a river, a forest, and a giant angry animal, and realizing your only transport system is your feet. No wheels, no roads, no horses, no maps, no estimated arrival time. Just legs, luck, and maybe a very questionable shortcut.
But this simple problem, how do we move ourselves, our food, our tools, and our dreams farther than our bodies allow, became one of the biggest stories in human history. Because before cars, trains, ships, rockets, and flying machines, transport began with walking. And the strangest part? For thousands of years, walking was not the bad option. It was the main technology.
For early humans, movement was survival. If food moved, people had to follow. If the climate changed, people had to move. If danger came too close, standing still was not a great life plan. Transport was not about comfort. It was about reaching water, finding animals, carrying tools, escaping cold, and connecting groups.
But the human body has limits. You can walk far, but not forever. You can carry things, but not a whole village on your back. At some point, humans needed help. And that help first came from nature itself.
Long before wheels, humans used the simplest transport tools possible: feet, hands, shoulders, baskets, sledges, and dragged objects. Archaeologists find traces of ancient movement in stone tools transported far from where the raw material originally came from. That means people were already moving resources across landscapes tens of thousands of years ago. They probably carried things in animal skins, woven plant fibers, wooden frames, or simple bags. Many of these materials do not survive well in the ground, so the evidence is often indirect.
Then came one of the greatest ideas before the wheel: using animals. Dogs were likely among the first domesticated animals, and in some cold regions, they later helped pull sleds. In other places, humans learned to use donkeys, cattle, horses, camels, and reindeer. This was a huge upgrade. Suddenly, transport had 4 legs instead of 2. And let's be honest, if your backpack could walk by itself, you would also call that a miracle.
When the first cities grew in Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, China, and other regions, transport became more than survival. It became power. Cities needed grain, stone, wood, metal, clay, soldiers, workers, and trade goods. A city without transport is basically a very crowded place slowly running out of snacks. Rivers became natural highways. The Nile helped move people and goods through Egypt. In Mesopotamia, rivers and canals connected fields, towns, and temples.
The wheel was not invented by a cartoon caveman making a stone donut. The earliest known wheeled vehicles appear in the 4th millennium BCE, and one famous wooden wheel with an axle was found in the Ljubljana Marshes in Slovenia, dated to more than 5,000 years ago. Wheels changed everything, but they had one problem. They needed surfaces. A cart is amazing until the road becomes mud. Then it is just a heavy wooden mistake. That is why roads, animals, carts, boats, and human labor all developed together.
Between the 5th and 10th centuries, transport did not simply stop after Rome. It changed shape. In Europe, many Roman roads remained important, even when maintenance became uneven. In Byzantium, the Islamic world, China, India, and along trade routes, movement continued through roads, ports, rivers, and caravan networks. Camels became especially important in dry regions because they could carry loads across deserts where horses would struggle. The camel was basically the ancient off-road vehicle, except it also had opinions and could spit. During this period, transport depended heavily on geography. Rivers were still faster than roads. Sea routes could move heavy cargo more efficiently than carts. Overland travel was slower, riskier, and often expensive. But connections between regions kept growing. From the 11th to the 15th centuries, medieval transport became busier. Towns grew, markets expanded, pilgrims traveled to holy places, merchants crossed mountains, seas, and deserts. Roads connected castles, ports, monasteries, and trading cities. In Europe, carts, pack animals, riverboats, and coastal ships moved goods. In the Islamic world and Central Asia, caravan routes linked cities and oases. In China, canals and river systems helped move grain and people across huge distances. The Silk Road was not one single road, but a network of routes. Goods, ideas, religions, technologies, diseases, and stories moved across it. Transport was still slow, but the world felt less separate. A letter, a spice, a piece of silk, or a strange rumor could travel farther than most people ever would.
Between the 16th and 18th centuries, ships became the stars of global transport. Ocean voyages connected continents on a much larger scale. Sailing ships carried goods, people, animals, plants, weapons, maps, and unfortunately also conquest, disease, and forced labor. This period was not just about adventure, it was about empires, trade, navigation, and control. Better maps, improved shipbuilding, compasses, sails, and ports made long-distance travel more predictable, though still dangerous. On land, roads slowly improved in many places, but travel could still be uncomfortable. Coaches bounced over rough roads, horses needed rest, wheels broke, mud turned journeys into comedy, unless you were the person stuck in it. Transport was improving, but it was still powered mostly by wind, water, animals, and muscles. And here is one of the strangest parts of transport history. For a long time, speed was not always the goal. Reliability mattered more. A slow boat on a river could be better than a fast horse on a terrible road. A camel caravan could beat a wheeled cart in the desert. A road could be less useful than a canal. The best transport was not always the newest one. It was the one that matched the land. This is why ancient and medieval transport can look strange to us. Humans did not just invent vehicles, they invented systems. Roads, bridges, ports, stables, milestones, inns, canals, and repair points. A wheel without a road is only half an invention. Then the Industrial Age changed everything. Steam power turned transport from muscle and wind into machine power. In the 19th century, railways allowed people and cargo to move faster, farther, and more regularly than ever before. The Stockton and Darlington Railway opened in 1825 and became a famous symbol of public steam railway transport. Then came bicycles, better roads, internal combustion engines, and automobiles. In 1886, Carl Benz patented the Benz patent motor car, one of the key steps toward the modern car. In the early 20th century, the Wright brothers showed that powered flight was possible. Suddenly, transport was no longer limited to land and water. Humanity had looked at the sky for thousands of years. Then, it finally entered it.
Today, transport is everywhere. Cars navigate with satellites. Trains cross countries at high speed. Planes carry people across oceans in hours. Electric vehicles, ride-sharing apps, container ships, subways, drones, and smart traffic systems quietly shape daily life. We complain about traffic, but to an ancient traveler, a modern highway would look like a river of metal beasts obeying invisible rules. Mostly. In the future, transport may become even stranger. Self-driving vehicles may choose routes by themselves. Flying taxis may turn the sky into a traffic problem with better views.
Hyperloop-style systems, electric aircraft, delivery drones, and maybe even space tourism could make movement faster and more automatic. And one day, someone may complain that their flying car is 3 minutes late. History will smile.
The evolution of transport is not just the story of vehicles. It is the story of humans refusing to stay in one place. From bare feet on ancient ground to carts, caravans, ships, trains, cars, planes, and possible flying machines, every step shows the same idea. Humans always look at distance and think, there has to be a better way. And somehow, after thousands of years, it all started with walking.